Habari gani, karibuni, asanteni nasi. You know, one quick thing I forgot to do, and I'm going to do that quickly because we are in community, is put up something. Just bear with me real quick. I need to put up an image. Just bear with me. Bear with me, y'all. Sorry about that. There we go. All right. So, Mama Marimba, I remember, you know, we talked about this Cecil Rhodes and his quote, and I guess I can start with that and we'll move up to the conversation. Let's, you know, but no. We cannot prioritize Cecil Rhodes before our ancestors. So let me center myself back and Africanize this situation. All right. So we're going to invite our ancestors today to sit with us, to ground us in our Africanness, to guide us as we have this conversation so that it is grounded in service to our community and in continuing the work that they started towards our African sovereignty. We appreciate everything that they did for us, and we ask that we do not abandon their goal to achieve that African sovereignty, that we do not continue to be complacent, and that we use this book that we will be talking today as a guide to impact our actions and not just to read for the sake of reading. So, Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. All right, so the name is Nduku. I am the host on Kumbukeni. I am a Mwana Ubuntu. And today I'm joined by a fellow Mwana Ubuntu. Hold on, bear with me. Sorry. Sorry about that. Yes. Today I'm joined by a fellow Mwana Ubuntu. And what that means, that's a child of Ubuntu, a person of Ubuntu, someone of that culture, that principle. And Mama Marimba Ani, I call her, is an elder in our community, first of all. To me, she's a fellow African warrior woman. And we've talked about African warrior women on Kumbukeni several times. That's who she is to me. She is my big sister, and more than that, my elder. She has done the work that is going to help us and that I believe is very important to guide us to the next phase. And the time has come for us to move on to that next phase. And we're going to use this opportunity. Yes, Ashe. We're going to use this opportunity as a moment to take the lessons so that we can start the work towards that next phase. Asante sana, Mama Marimba Ani. Karibu.
Karibu.
Asante. So I'm going to start with a few quotes that you've shared with me of Nana John Henry Clarke. And I thank you for always sharing these wisdoms. And then I will give the description of Yurugu and Asili, and then we'll take it from there, Mama Marimba Ani. So one of the quotes, if it's not an instrument of your liberation, throw it away. Nana John Henry Clarke. The second one, it's not your job to seek to become a part of your master's apparatus. You will only succeed in re-enslaving yourself. Your job is to destroy that apparatus. Nana John Henry Clarke. I share these two quotes to ground us today, for us to be intentional, all of us who are watching this, Wana Ubuntu, to be intentional about the purpose of this gathering today. All right. One great thing Mama Marimba Ani does in the book, for those of you who will get the book, for those of you who have gotten the book and have read it or haven't, it's time to get it off the bookshelf, because I said the time is now to move to the next phase. And whether you're ready or not, we need to move to the next phase. Is at the beginning, she gives descriptions of these terms. For a lot of you, in the United States removed from our culture, and on the continent removed from our culture, these terms were foreign to you. For some of us, these terms were not foreign, right? Utamaroho is not foreign to me because I speak Kiswahili. I've been raised in that culture. Yurugu was foreign to me. Asili is not foreign to me because I speak Kiswahili. I've been raised in that culture, so I knew what this was. But a lot of you don't, and a lot of you didn't when you first encountered these words. And I'm grateful that our mama gave the descriptions before you even get into the book. And I ask you first, when you start reading the book, read through the descriptions twice, at least twice. And then always come back to them as you're reading the book if you feel like you're lost and you don't remember what it was. Yurugu. Yurugu is a being in Dogon mythology, which is responsible for disorder in the universe. This is a being conceived in denial of the natural order, which then acts to initiate and promote disharmony in the universe. In African cosmology, such a being is deficient in spiritual sensibility, is perpetually in conflict, is limited cognitively, and is threatening to the well-being of humanity. If I was to describe what the book Yurugu is about in a nutshell, that's what I would say the book is about. And so Mama Marimba Ani takes that description and breaks it down in different areas of our being and shows how it shows up in the different areas of our being and their being. That's what the book is about. Asili, the logos of a culture within which its various aspects cohere. It is the development, the germ, the seed of a culture. It is the cultural essence, the ideological core, the matrix of a cultural entity, which must be identified in order to make sense of the collective creations of its members. And this is the reason why we read the book, to be able to identify it. Mama Marimba Ani, why did you write Yurugu? What called you to write it, and what was the process of writing the book? You say in the acknowledgement, you mention fulfilling the oath that you took by having been born African to avenge the spirits of our ancestors. Let's talk about the process, Mama.
Okay, what happens is that when you are in the academy, you are encouraged to think in a particular modality, and encouraged to study and write on things which are considered to be quote unquote academic. And if people look up that word in the dictionary, in English Euro dictionary, it will come up that to be for something, when something is academic, it's like not important. It's not really consequential. And for us, everything that we do needs to be something which intentionally impacts on the well-being of our people, on the political power of our people, the political status of our people. And let me say what I mean by political. to be political is when you have identified yourself with a group, or in our case, a family, a race family, to which you are loyal, and for which you are seeking victory in a war. It is to think in terms of war. And so what that means is that it is identifying the enemy.
Yeah.
The enemy is one or those who act against the interest of your family,
Mm-hmm.
of your people, of your group. That's thinking politically. So when people say, um, "Oh, that's a good white person. She was good to me. She did this for me. He did that for me." Um, they're not thinking politically because they are thinking as an individual. They are
Yeah.
thinking. They're not thinking in terms of group interest. So we have to think, and that's what Baba Omawale did for us. That was so excellent. Was he always thought in terms of, well, what does it mean for the majority or the
Yes.
masses of our people? Not just, oh, we can get, if we demonstrate here, if we do that, um, we can get a few jobs for a few people that they consider to be now qualified. That's not um, strategic, effective political behavior for African people. Um, I did Yurugu because I wanted to, two things. I wanted to do something which would service us in behalf of the victory that we have to achieve in war with the enemy. I also wanted to. I felt that we needed to be able to see beyond the mask that they wear, and the mask is supported by, constructed by their the theoretical framework that they force on us in the academy. And by the way, that begins with nursery school.
Yep.
Um, it of course becomes more and more intense and more developed as you move to so-called higher and higher, in quotes, forms of education. But it begins, when we and Nana Amos points that out. I think when we put our children into quote unquote school as early as we can. So, when they're 3 and we're so proud that of what it is that they're learning, they are and when those schools are the method that they're using, the modalities that they're using, the images that they're using, the symbols that they're using. Um, they are all part of an intentional political assault against African people. We have not understood that, and I wanted Yurugu to help in exposing that. Now, to do that is not easy,
Yeah.
and I think that that's one of the reasons why the book to many is considered not easy. Is because what you have to do, or what I felt I had to do, was to deconstruct their how shall I put it, the conceptual framework
Mhm.
that we are taught to take for granted from the time we are in nursery school.
Yeah.
Because embedded in that conceptual framework is the anti-African uh, assumptions
Mhm.
that lead eventually to African menticide, as Bobby Wright put it. You see, it's that you have to get to the level of assumption, and that's not easy work. It goes beyond. We said in the '70s, "I'm black and I'm proud," but I don't think we really understood what it meant for that to inform our political behavior. We didn't use culture in the way
Mm.
that we should have, which I want to acknowledge and refer the family to the work of Nana Amos Wilson,
Mhm.
who has a brilliant presentation, and I don't know the title of it,
I will share
but
it.
he's talking.
The one on culture. I'll share it.
Yes.
Hmm.
Okay. Good.
Hmm.
So that we can still have access to, which is wonderful. That there is a recording of it, and he's so clear in it. And by the way, we need to make sure that we archive these gems, so that we can use them in the future, and that we will have them in the future. That they won't disappear. So again, back to why I did Yurugu is and how I think people need to approach it and understand it is you see, there are two things. One that's important. You got to be able to identify the assumptions that a theory is based on. And we didn't do that, because what we were taught in the academy is um, that a theory is somehow um, a uh, a universal and objective truth. So there are certain concepts that Yurugu has used, and that Europeans have used in their in their academy. And one of them that is devastating for us is the concept of objectivity. And I talk about the myth of objectivity. The other is how they use universalism. Because what they do is they present, and this happens in the academy, they present their views and their thoughts and their perspective as universal. And what that does is it masks their values. What they when I entered graduate school, one of there are certain courses that you have to take. So because I was supposed to be studying cultural anthropology, one of the classes was foundations of sociological thought, or we could say foundations of anthropological thought, or they might call it foundations of cultural thought. So you're sitting there, you got to have that, and you got to understand it. You got to take it in, and you think that what you are getting is some kind of absolute and, of course, valuable truth. But I realized as I was listening to the guy talk and lecture, and I'm taking notes. I don't want to miss anything. I'm taking everything down. And I look back at these notes and I realize what I'm learning is how they think and how they feel. So you really are what you're getting in what they call sociology is the European concept of society, of family. They will always begin by defining certain basic, elemental concepts. So you're getting their definition of family, but it's their definition, which embodies or reflects, I should say, their worldview, their way of being, their culture, and culture is ideology. Your culture should root you in an ideological, framework, and that's what you're getting. You're getting them in these courses, and these, you're not getting some kind of abstract, absolute, universally applicable truth. But I realized that, but how do you show it? How do you argue that? How do I make it useful for our people in war, so that it can help to determine strategy? Because the whole thing that we do should be about should be strategic, and I think that's what 9 o'clock meant by if you can't use it for liberation. And I would say use it for African sovereignty. And I specifically say African, I qualify it because you can't understand what we mean by sovereignty by looking in the dictionary. And you shouldn't look in the dictionary for how they define culture to understand the importance of culture for us, because you won't get it. So definitions are very important, and I think Sister Nduku, what you're referring to is the glossary in the beginning of the book, because how you define concepts and terms, that's going to determine where you go, where you can go, what you can do, what the intent is. The quote by which I discovered through the work of Ola Eshu in an article that he wrote for us in, I believe it was in our newspaper, The African World, The Ghost of Cecil Rhodes. It's an excellent quote, because you see, what we need more is what reveals them. You need the enemy revealed, and that's, if you, the cover of the book Yurugu has this rather ugly being holding a mask. So it's like the mask is being taken off, and that's what we need. And I don't know. I'm just seeing that. I'm feeling, unfortunately, that our people we don't see through them.
No, we don't.
And that would bring us to the chapter 6 that talks about the rhetorical ethic, was a concept that I developed because I looked at the way in which they have one way that they talk to us. They want us to think. And then they've got another thing that they really believe. So, and that's why I called it's an ethical statement. It sounds like an ethical statement, but it's not really. Because ethics is supposed to be, about how you should behave, the best way to be. And they're not really interested in that. But they may talk about that. They may talk about brotherhood, humanitarianism, things like that, and doing what's good for everybody and so forth. But that's not, if you understand the Asili, then you know it's double talk. That's only rhetoric to fool us. And there is a quote, I know I have it in the book somewhere, I think, anyway, that Nana Francis Cress Welsing says the same thing. She said, we don't understand where they're coming from, and that's part of our vernacular in the African Black community in the States is where she or he is coming from, meaning what are they really about? And that's what I think the concept of Asili does, or that's what I wanted it to do, was to give us something that kind of decodes their behavior decodes the culture. So I'm not sure at this point what that question was, but
No, your question has been answered, and in a very full way, in a very full way. So I'm glad you mentioned the drawing on the cover, and I'll hold it up for those of you who
okay,
are
okay, good,
watching.
good.
So let's talk about the cover, the process of the cover.
Okay,
Why this image, and how did you come about the image?
okay, and let me say, before I say that, I had people who were close to me, um, who were artists, who were around me when the book was being at the final stages, just before it was about to come out, who advised me, who said, "Oh no, you can't have a cover like that," because their view was that the cover needed to be aesthetically pleasing. And I looked at it and I said, the ugliness of it was exactly what I wanted. I wanted that, and I thought it needed that. So now let me talk about the process of it. Um, there is a sister, a sister comrade, so to speak, who's brilliant, and she is a visual artist. Her work is brilliant, and she's very much um, um, committed to doing work that will further the organization of our people for war, even though she wouldn't use the word war. I don't think she likes that. It's one of my favorites because even though I don't believe we are a warlike people or want to be, it is time for war.
It is.
And has
Ashe.
been, and we've been warred against in the most disastrous ways for centuries, and but we need to be at war. And as Baba Baruti tells us so eloquently, he says, we need to be at peace with being at war. So I use the word war. And so my sister, and I will say her name, Sister Aziza Hunter, I was sharing what I was doing in the book with her, and at the same time wanting her to do a cover for me. And so one day I was at her house in DC, and she took me down into her studio in the basement at that time, and showed me a sketch that she had, and she, saying, "What do you think about that?" And I saw it, and immediately I was like, "That's it. You've got it.
Yeah.
That's Yurugu." So she is responsible for she created the image. The actual rendering of it for when we were ready for publication, she wasn't available to do that, to render it in a way that the publisher needed it. And so another friend of mine who's an artist, who does profound work himself, Baba Amura, um, um, he did it. He made it into the form that it needed to be.
Okay.
But the initial conception was my sister Aziza's. And when she explained it to me, she went to art school, and she was an art student, so there were things that she had to study, and she learned, and she said that it was inspired by a form of German art, a period of German art that was actually banned under the Third Reich. And it was what they said they were doing, I think, and I'm not sure of this, that it was German expressionism, it might be called.
It is.
And that Hitler called it degenerative art. And what they said they were doing was they wanted to give the truth of the inner being, which is interesting. Because, yeah, and so that was what she kind of used. You
mean the artists, right? That's what the artists said they were drawing to show the inner being.
Well, the artist in this school of art in Germany that was banned by Hitler, and I guess why he really didn't like it was that in their work they would be, there was a thing of the governments to romanticize an image that would give, I guess what Hitler would want would be all of these kind of strong looking blonde people.
That's exactly what he wanted. It's the same thing, right. Mama Marimba Ani. It's the same thing, funny enough. John Edgar Hoover wanted, Edgar Hoover wanted for not John, sorry, for the FBI. It's the same thing that we see when, what's the president that was sick and his wife was covering the whole time and they didn't tell us. I mean, Biden, just the other day, they didn't tell us. They make us think Biden is healthy.
Reagan right? Was also another one.
I think Franklin Roosevelt, he was on a wheelchair. He was not working towards the end and his wife was covering and they don't let us know. It's the same thing.
So, we're talking about image.
Exactly. Go on, Mama.
And this society, U.S. American society is all about, and we have to be careful of that because we find ourselves being taken into it, is that you are very concerned with image.
We are today.
As opposed to the realness and truth of who you really are. And so the whole thing of, if we go back to way before you all's time, but the 50s was the big time of the center of it was Madison Avenue, and it was about what do you call it? Advertisement? Yes. Right? Marketing. That's what I'm trying to say. In marketing, what you do is you're packaging something in a way that appeals, you're hoping will appeal to people, but it doesn't reveal what's really inside. You want to hide what's really inside. And we have to be careful that we don't deal that way with each other. And it's very much a part of the capitalist ethic too, right? That whole thing of marketing.
I agree.
Really, I have a problem with that.
It's the reason we have the weaves and the fake nails, Mama Marimba Ani. But go on before I get.
Okay. So, but our people have to be very, very astute in seeing through that. You have to see through the false image. Nana Omowale Malcolm X has a quote along one where he talks about see, that's what the media does. That's what their media is about. But he's got a long quote about if you don't think, that's why we have to think African. But if you don't do that and use that to analyze what they're really doing, you'll end up, he says at one point, thinking the victim is the criminal and the criminal is the victim. I've used that quote somewhere, but I wish our people would understand it, because it's very important. So the Yurugu is about unmasking the enemy. The academy works to mask the enemy.
It's
make
very
us make us think non-politically. You see, when we think non-politically, we're in trouble, and we've done that.
Absolutely.
So that's about, and the cover is about that, I think.
Yes.
But I do want to very much give props to Sister Mama Aziza, who's just a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful African.
Asante Mama Aziza. And as you can see, the cover speaks for the book. That's the mask right there. And once the mask is taken, the mask, there. Once it's taken off, you see the true creature. You see the true faith. You see the true, pretty ugly.
Right.
And we can do one day we can do a session on that, just the art, maybe with the kids. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
Because I would love to hear the kids' thoughts before we even tell them what they think of what they're looking at, right? A lot of people have said to me, and we've talked about this, that the book is a hard read, and you mentioned it before, that it is very theoretical. I believe that's not a bad thing. So let's talk about that, Mama Marimba Ani.
Well, it may not be a bad thing, but I felt a necessary thing. Okay, and also I don't think, well, I will say this. I would be open to and welcome and think we need to. I would love to be able to put it into a form. I mean, I could even see a brilliant artist doing a cartoon form.
Would love to see that. Anyone who has the resources.
I would love to see it as well. So
I would love to see Yurugu in cartoon form.
That's it.
My goodness.
Absolutely. But let's get back to, I think you said theoretical. Yes. Here's the deal. I have to go all the way back to Plato, which I do in the book. And what Plato did, and why I think is so important in terms of understanding European, what is called Western, white civilization and culture, is that and people should read for themselves the Republic. They really should. And Plato is arguing for a kind of a revolutionary change in the society. He's saying that it's people need to think in a certain way, and that if they think in the way that he is putting forth, it will be superior. And that way is what he calls philosophy, which is, I guess in the Greek or whatever it is, a lover of truth or whatever. And so he's really talking about what he would consider a class of people. And that class is, would be the philosopher kings. Okay? And he also considers them, he breaks it down into different metals. Mm-hmm. And he has gold as the superior metal. And so these are the gold people.
Yes.
But the gold people will think a certain way. And the way they will think is, he talks in terms of what he calls the forms, Forms, which are these purified, absolute abstractions. And he says that they are, he calls that being. Okay? Now you can see just from listening to that this is what Yurugu calls philosophy. Mm. And he's supposed to be, one of the best that ever was. Okay?
Yes.
And understand that in order to, I'm saying that that's very dangerous. Because what he was saying that if we can get, if we can build a society in which we define how they are to think, and those who think that way are the ones who rule, mm-hmm. then we have a society which is perfect. So the republic was the ideal state. The republic involved this rule by this elite who had a certain way of thinking. Mm-hmm. It also included slave. It had a slave caste. So it had all of these things that had a hierarchy. But it was ideal for Plato. And I'm saying that it became the model or the template for Europe.
Yep.
You see?
Yes.
And I'm saying that also I use it to say that you can see the development of Europe, because as 9 o'clock points out, if you go back to talking about the achievements of and the nature of Kemetic or early African, civilization, mm-hmm. there was no Europe at that time. I mean, there were people, but they were not organized into any kind of a nation. And they definitely didn't have a civilization. So partly what happens in the book Yurugu, you get to see the development of the process of how it comes to be.
Mm-hmm.
And they end by um, uh, constructing an edifice,
Mm-hmm.
which becomes a power, and is a global power in the world, and
Mm-hmm.
becomes a power which makes the Ma'afa, the intent of which is to destroy Africa. And they do a pretty good job at it. Okay. So I'm tracing that whole developmental process. I begin with Plato.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what you can see is that ain't going to be easy. We
And
shouldn't
it's not
expect it
supposed to
to be
be.
easy.
Thank you. It shouldn't be.
Okay.
Thank you.
But I felt it was my job.
Yes, I
I took it
agree.
on.
I
I
agree.
said, I
And
got to do this. And wait,
Asante.
and this is important.
Mm,
So I want remind me of this. I want to I want you to do the quote from Rhodes,
I will. It's
because
up.
it
Mm-hmm.
shows what it does is it shows two things. One is the intentionality
Mm-hmm.
of them, of Europe, of where we are now is the result.
Exactly.
It's like they were intentional, but they kept at it. They were systematic. And we have to understand system.
Mm-hmm.
We have to understand them and their behavior and so forth as system. And that's another part of what the book is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And another reason why you can't expect it to be easy.
Yeah.
To deconstruct that, it's not easy.
Yeah. And
Okay.
yeah.
And so you might, I mean, it might be easier for you to say, oh, Whitey's bad.
Mhm. I've been saying
Kill
that.
Whitey. But what do you really mean? And is that, how do you translate that into war strategy?
I think Baba Kamau Kambon did that. He said it, but go on, Mama Marimba. Sorry.
Right. Okay. So I'll leave it at that. But the quote, can you read the quote
I will
maybe?
read the
And
quote. Yes.
yeah, and
Yes.
I want people, if you listen carefully, y'all, and you don't have to listen that carefully because it's very clear and very
Yes.
upfront. You will see that, you kind of wonder why, oh, well, why we have so much trouble doing this? How we
Mm,
colonize? How does that work? What is and so forth. But you understand that they had a plan. And the plan was based on their conception of who they were in relationship to who we are.
exactly.
It's real simple. Okay. I'm saying that this whole thing took work, but listen to this quote, y'all.
All right. Africa is still lying ready for us. It is our duty to take it. It is our duty to seize every opportunity of acquiring more territory, and we should keep this one idea steadily before our eyes that more territory simply means more of the Anglo Saxon race, more of the best, the most human, most honorable race the world possesses. To forward such a scheme what a splendid help a secret society would be. A society not openly acknowledged, but who would work in secret for such an object. For fear that death might cut me off before the time for attempting its development, I leave all my worldly goods in trust too, and for the establishment, promotion, and development of a secret society, the true aim and object whereof shall be for the extension of British rule throughout the world, especially the occupation by British settlers of the entire continent of Africa. Cecil Rhodes.
Um, so I wanted to show how that sentiment, that commitment, that objective was reflected in the assumptions of the European Academy. And in therefore in what we were taught and understood as objective truth, and what we were taught and thought that we were acquiring quote unquote knowledge as an abstraction. And by the way, let me include in that, this is very important, what you learn as science, which becomes the sacred thing that you can't. I mean, who can question science? If it's science, it's science. And that's the mental attitude with which we study and learn from them. So what are they doing to our minds? What are they doing to our behavior? They are depoliticizing us, deculturing us, if our culture is indeed African. You see, they are teaching us to not only hate ourselves, but to feel that it is right for us to be ruled by the gold people, the philosopher kings of Plato. Of course, because they think better than we do. Because if you read the Republic, you have the philosopher kings, you have the people who really know how to think, and then the rest of the people, which would be the masses of the people, are in the cave. They can't even see. They exist in a cave, and they can't think, and they can't see, and they can't see reality. And they only think in terms of in fact, thinking is made to be superior to what he would call the senses. And the senses for us, family, or Nana Amos would say, ladies and gentlemen, he says, I'll say brothers and sisters, but family. The senses are feeling, spirit, emotion. Those are good things for us. Love, when we love ourselves and each other. We love Africa. That's the thing that's going to make us do what we have to do. It's a
Yes.
deep, 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 unabiding love for Africa.
Ashe.
That's it.
Ashe.
That's going to be the thing that makes it happen. But for in the platonic mode, the academic mode, that's inferior to thought is better than emotion. So there's a hierarchy there, and and emotion needs to be gotten away with, and then you get to a point where you get Descartes talking about I think therefore I am. So you are only you are defined in terms of thought, and thought is defined in terms of what I would consider to be non-human and definitely non-African. You see what I'm saying? So we had to, Yurugu, the book had to expose their definition of thought.
Yes.
And it's what Baba Jetty, J. Carruthers called thinking about thought, which is, we got to push ourselves, I mean,
We
that's
do.
what,
Yeah, we
that's
do.
what,
And
that's what the book is.
I
Go ahead.
shared with you the analogy of the animals in the Serengeti, the Tanzania side, and in the Mara, the Kenyan side, crossing the Mara River every year, despite the fact that they know every year there are crocodiles in the river and some of them will die. But if they remain on the Serengeti when there's drought, they will all die, for sure.
Uh-huh.
If they cross, a good number of them will stay and they will have children, because also that's part of what happens when they move. There's mating season every time they move. So, and I'm so glad I'm sitting more and more with this analogy. And Mama Marimba, we say this all the time. If only we observe nature, she has all the answers for us. We need to observe nature.
Absolutely. That's what our ancestors did. That's where they got their models, their metaphors, their symbols, their concepts.
And it's a science. And it's a science. Talk about it. And it's because we have Marxists walking around, right? Talking to us as if we have.
Of course it is.
As we talk about science, and I'm glad we are segueing into this. Let's talk about Frankenstein. A lot of us, we watch movies, we read books, and we laugh about it, we talk about it, but we don't see the deeper meaning in it and what it is telling us about our enemy. So let's talk about Frankenstein, their science, and the bigger picture of Frankenstein.
Okay. And also talk about one of the things that happens in because remember, this is it's a critique and a deconstruction of their culture and their what I call cultural thought and behavior.
Yep.
And so one of the things that they do, if you really want to know how they think, how they see themselves in relationship to the world, how they think they should behave, what they plan to do, you need to watch their horror movies, their science fiction, so-called science fiction. They reveal themselves in that.
Absolutely.
So there is, I think in chapter 1. Oh, and then I want to, after this, get back to how I developed the process of the theoretical framework for the book.
We can do that. Yes.
Yeah. But um, there's a chapter in which I talk about. Well, there is chapter 1. That's very important because that's the
If you name it, I
Utama
might find
Wazo.
it. Yeah. Yes.
But the concept, I call it scientism.
I find, yeah.
So that becomes, you see, you have these different things that become sacrosanct, so to speak. And what we mean by that is that you can't touch that. You can't question that. Those are the very things that got to be questioned. What I wanted to do in the book Yurugu was to help us understand that you need to question what we consider to be the givens of a thought system or a logical system, the assumptions of it. And I've just thought, and in the last few days, I've been thinking about another very important thing is understanding the premises, Premisses, premises on which an argument is based.
Construct, yeah. It is chapter 1
Because
that
you see, if we disagree with if you disagree with the premises, you know, then you need to trash it right there. You need to.
Thank you.
And there are premises that we disagree with. And for instance, there is a premise now that has become the power in Europe and in European culture, and that is that tools, 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 if people can understand me and hear me, not only in that they enhance humanness.
Transhumanism, you wrote about.
Tools make human beings better. They are better. What if that's your premise? What you end up with is that technology becomes superior to, and in fact can do away with, humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Which is what
okay.
they're doing. Which is why they have robots
That's
now.
exactly right. It's exactly right. You know, because you really think it's a demeaning of what it means to be human, of the human. And if as Africans we are the definition of human,
Mm-hmm.
then what does that, you see what I'm saying? What is that saying about us, and what does it do to us?
Someone said in the comments AI as well, and I agree. Even the naming of AI, artificial intelligence,
Absolutely.
when they know very well it's not intelligent, is that
It's not
what you're
intelligent,
describing?
but however, think about it.
Mm-hmm.
It is a definition of, or a use of the word intelligence as we use it in military.
Yes.
And I'm not putting down military because I think we have to think more military.
Yes, I see what you're saying.
But the way you use intelligence in military is finding out, it's surveillance, really. No, getting data about the enemy. And what our people need to understand is also the internet, the robotics, all of that was developed for military purposes.
I was hesitating to say this publicly, but I think it's going to serve us, and the spirit moves me to say it publicly.
Okay.
We can use it the same way against them.
Yeah, and you should be careful saying publicly.
Yes.
You should be very, very, yeah.
But I said it publicly because our people are using it, and now I'm encouraging them to use it that way.
Yeah, but Nduku, you can say that, but if you say it in a vacuum, and if you say it
Exactly.
to people who are not organized,
Mm-hmm.
so they don't have the container in which to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. I agree with you, Mama Marimba Ani. But our people are not listening, and they will do what they want to do. They will continue to use these tools. So if one of them just one day decides, that woman said I can use this, and does that, and they collect the you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
No,
saying.
I hear you. But see, that points to the problem of where we are, because we've got to kind of take things by chance and by hope,
Exactly.
and maybe
And
perhaps, as opposed to, if you listen again and read again, quote, Cecil Rhodes' quote, it is what they have as an advantage
the secret.
is that they plan, and they plan 50 to 100 years ahead. They're already planning. We're talking about 9 o'clock was saying, are we ready for the 21st century? And I'm saying we ain't even thinking in terms of 22nd century, and we almost blew 21st. You see
We
what I
should
mean?
think 5 generations ahead. Yes, yes.
I'm saying, and we should make plans. My students and people around me used to make a joke about Mama Marimba. And they'd say, because I would always say to them, they'd come to me with something, and I'd say to them, "What's your plan?" And they'd laugh about that. And it was, and I understood it. I took it well. I liked it. But we do have to do that much more.
Yeah.
And that's
And
what
we
I
will.
see the importance of engineering is that it's planning. You're planning. You're thinking it through. You're thinking, you have an objective, and you're thinking how to get there. We have to do that.
There's a blueprint. You have to draw the
Yes.
blueprint. Before you even draw the blueprint.
I call it a black print.
Before you even design the black print, you have to analyze the location.
You do. You have to. You have to do
study, right? You have to study nature, how the wind is blowing, where the sun is rising.
You do.
And then you design the black print.
It's going to be at a certain time, in a certain time of year, and so forth of that.
And once you finish the black print, you have to say what materials are ideal.
That you need. Then what is the structure that, because you need it's a mechanism. You're building a machine.
How do you go about it? And then finally you implement.
Yes.
All right. I'm glad we sent that message out there to our brothers and sisters.
But I say all of this, it's in this format and in this modality. It's almost like it goes in one year and out the other, in one year and out the other.
That's what I was just saying to you.
Yeah.
I
don't know how seriously we take it. Nana Ba Asa Hilliard was saying this, and he has some articles in which he wrote about it, some books in which he wrote about it, is that we need to think more like that. And he even raises a question. He says, he has one, at one point he says it's the 15th round in a 15 match. match, whatever you call it.
Oh, the boxing match.
Yeah,
It's 15 rounds. Yes.
yes, and it's the
Yes.
15th round, and then he says, "Do we really want to win?"
Mm.
And I think we have to raise that question.
Mama Marimba Ani, I
Do
don't
we
think we want
really
to
want to
win
win?
because we are being punched and we
No,
are slapping back. We're not even slapping back. We are sitting.
if to win means that you will be in total control and total power over, you can't, we won't be able to blame and say, well, they did that, they did this, and they're doing this, and we are the people who are supposed to be determining what's happening in the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so that what I said is not an irresponsible.
We have that ability.
Yes, we
Yeah,
do.
go ahead.
So that what I said about AI is not an irresponsible. What is the term you use? And is it Nana Ben, and who else who uses the term to speak? I'm translating it. It's in Metaneta, to speak
Right.
in a positive way. To speak in a positive way. What's that term?
Oh, that's important. And the person to read is Baba Jetty, Jacob
Mm-hmm.
Carruthers,
Mm-hmm.
and he has his book Divine Speech.
Yes,
People should read Divine Speech, and I talk about Sodai that I get from Dogon.
Mm-hmm.
You see, all European worldview and how they, and that's the thing, by the way, of Vernon Dixon talking about object measure.
Mm-hmm.
Everything they do that they consider of value, and Descartes to say, I think, therefore I am, even, is on what I consider the level of jiriso, which is word at face value. It's superficial.
Yes, I saw that word. Yes.
It doesn't have context. And by the way, you have pointed out what they call artificial, intelligence cannot give you context.
No.
And it's only in context that you get meaning, interpretation. And for us, that's the level of Beni So.
Yes.
And eventually we get to the level of Sodai, which is the clear word, or vision. We've got to, we've got to be visionaries. You've got to be able to see beyond this thing.
And we were visionaries.
Where I'm saying, and that's what yes, Baba Damani.
We still are.
Yes, we still, thank you. Baba Damani, since you spoke, I was going to bring you both in later, but a quick break from the, Mama Marimba Ani, our people have not built the muscle yet for theory. So let's give them a quick break. Brother Demani and Brother Ola, if you can come and say hello real quick. I want to introduce both of you and to make this point quickly.
And anybody else who's
they have been saying hello. I'll read them all later when we're done. They've been sharing. Yes, Mama Marimba Ani asked if you know her, if you're in the community right now, please
put your name up there.
Salimia, greet her. Let us know that you're in there. Yes. Brother Demani.
I won't see it because I don't even know how to do that.
I'll read it to you. So,
but Sister Dada Nduku will tell me that it's there. And by the way, when we come back, I do want to talk about the process of how I develop.
And the theoretical thinking.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Right. Yes.
That's very important.
My brother Demani. Come where we can see you. Demani.
Yeah,
you can come and lean over.
He's telling me to drink some water, and he's so
Yes,
right.
please.
And
While we do this,
make
you drink
sure I
some
drink it
water.
the right way, because otherwise I choke.
You don't want to choke. Yes. So my brothers, come to the camera, please. We can't see you both.
I don't know if Ola is going to want to do that.
It's okay to. There he is, and Brother Demani on the other side, please. Come to the other side, to the left side, please.
He doesn't want to do that.
No, he's being called by
but
the
what they
ancestors
do
to
is-
do it. Come over, Demani, please.
They
This is
help
not
me
a I want to do or not. It is that you've been
to do
called to
this work.
action. Yes, come please, my brother.
So you've been called by that.
And everybody who is who's watching and who's in the Atlanta area, you must come to Abakasim Sunsun.
Yes.
Which
So,
it will be happening June 26th, 2027.
yes.
And the importance of that is that, you know, whoever complained or whatever, that, you know, that this on the level of academic and theoretical and all that, Abakasim Sunsum is where we do it. We do ritual drama, which is the acting out of our ideology, what we think or what we need.
Yes.
Okay. And what we want to teach to the because I'm banking on a new generation that will not be wedded to European thought and behavior. Okay.
So and we are not going to let you down on that. So we will no, I'm serious. We will continue. We are continuing the work that you and other ancestors and our ancestors started. Yes.
I am absolutely grateful.
Yes.
So
yeah.
And so yeah, go ahead.
Let me So our brothers, Brother Demani and Brother Ola, that you all see, Demani came in and said hello, joined us today to help Mama Marimba Ani. And the reason I'm mentioning this, that I want you all,
I needed.
Everything is a lesson. So unlike the European way, where apparently it's only a lesson if it's in the curriculum, everything, even the sneezing of the teacher and how the teacher sneezes and what the teacher does after the sneeze is a lesson. So for us Africans, everything, the way the seats are set up, the way the room is smelling, the lighting, the air, everything is a lesson. And therefore this is a lesson. Our brothers, because they are capable, they came and they served today. We need to be more in service, to return to being in service to our elders, because without them, my Marimba Ani would have struggled through to get on.
Oh no,
right?
I wouldn't have been. I wouldn't have been on.
And we don't want to do that, right? And we don't want to do that. So, but just not just about getting on for you all to listen to her today, but she needs to go shopping. Someone shows up to drive her. You know, she needs to get out in nature. Someone shows up to drive her, not just Mama Marimba Ani, a lot of our elders, right? We need to return to that. They need to walk up the steps. We run over and hold them and we walk them up the steps. Young people, you better pray to our creator and our ancestors that I do not get the capability. Stop cursing our elders. Like just the bare minimum. You do not talk to them out of character. So asante, my brothers, I wanted to say, for being here and for helping Mama Marimba Ani get on today and stay on with us. I appreciate you both.
And can I say also that you know, when we talk about African culture, we have a tendency to romanticize it. I don't want to do that. It's certainly not perfect, or you know, that we just want to imitate what was or anything. But I have to say this: I spend a lot of time on the continent, And one of the things that you see that we still have that Yurugu has not been able to destroy is the way in which young people relate to elders. They will compete with each other in terms of speed. Who can be the first to get to an elder? They will not let you carry anything.
Yes.
Anything.
Yeah.
They won't let me have my backpack. They'll take it immediately from me. They will hold my hand. They will all of that. But it's an instinctive kind of thing for them. And that's still there. It's still there on the continent. And it's not just with the children, but it's with, anybody who's not an elder will defer to an elder to they don't feel you should have to walk too far. Definitely shouldn't have to carry anything.
Yeah.
And I want our people to know that, those who maybe have not gotten to spend time, on the continent, because there are many disappointing things in terms of how people think, and in terms of what is being imitated from Babylon, I call it.
I call it the Americanization of Africa.
Yeah, and that's kind of makes you sad.
It
makes you very sad. I mean, like people imitating, wanting to do misgivings, for instance. I mean, why would you want to do that? I don't think African Black people here should be doing it. They should know what it represents. But at any rate, so
yeah.
Getting on, I do want to mention, since you're calling people out, but I want to mention Sister Dada Iorende and Sister D, we call, who they have, I call it, almost saved my life this year, in terms of, I've come to a point where there's some work that I don't want to do it anymore. It's not our work. It's not work for the, for what I call the movement.
It doesn't meet what Nana Clark said. Yeah.
So I'm like, and I just couldn't, as my daughter's generation, they have they made a verb out of to motivate. And I'm not motivated to that kind of work. You know what I mean? So it's hard to get the energy when there's something you don't. But they came and they did it for me. And for Sister D, it meant driving 2.5 hours to come to me.
Thankful. Thank you, my sisters.
And I have to give a shout out for that.
Asante. I also, and I don't know if you want to get into this before we get back to our theoretical lesson. Mama Mudiwa and you and I appreciate Mama Mudiwa so much for that.
And I want to also say that there is a period in our movement which I think, as a preface to what I'm going to go into, kind of opened the way to allowing me to have the permission, that's a good word, or give myself the permission, I think, to do the work, Yurugu. And we tend to take it for granted, those of us who are more old heads. Nana Clark uh, Baba Jetty, Nana, um, uh, Amos, Nana Asa Hilliard were in there. There was a period where they were talking about the Afrocentric movement, and the enemy was putting a lot of resources through foundations and media into debunking it. So you got people like Lefkowitz and all of them, right?
Right.
And we tend to take it for granted because we know it, and it was a while ago. But I must say that the value of what it was saying was we have our own perspective on reality and on the analysis and of reality, of phenomena, and that's a good thing. Whereas it was just assumed that you would only have a Eurocentric perspective in the academy. That's what they present. And I think that was an important part of our movement, theoretically. And that the enemy understood the importance of it and therefore tried to, attacked it, actually, is what they did. So people like Nana Clark were under attack. And then you had people like Gates and them who were became part of the enemy's forces.
To this day, they continue that attack.
Yes, and I think that needs to be said and understood, the significance of it. Let's not take for granted.
Nope.
So let me tell this story because I do enjoy telling this and see if people follow me with this. What happened was I decided that when I got to graduate school, and I have to say, what's also very, very important is that you have to understand the difference between me in undergraduate and graduate. And it's not just the name being different, okay?
Yeah.
But as a different person. And people who have heard me talk about myself will have heard this before, but I underwent a rite of passage in between those two things. And the rite of passage was my time working as a field organizer for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee in Mississippi. That I am so thankful to the ancestors for that, because of what it did for me in my development as an African, and as an African warrior, as an African soldier. Now, there is something else that I'm very grateful for. I know what had a tremendous effect on me. I went to white schools. And what that did was, I went as an elementary school. It made socially, I was quite comfortable with white people. because the environments that I was in were integrated. That was one reason. The other thing is that the white people that I was around were the quote unquote good white people. So you got to be very careful of that. In other words, they were the ones who were politically, what would you call it? Well, they were considered to be progressive. Some of them would be Marxists, I guess. But definitely there was a term progressive, which was beyond Marxist. And so that meant that I could see the integration was okay. You see what I'm saying? Because I went from there to the University of Chicago. And I really went from Greenwich Village, which is a hotbed of that stuff, to Hyde Park in Chicago, which you won't know, but it's like an extension of Greenwich Village in New York. Okay, so that's my mindset. I'm there. And then something happens in 1960, which I am forever grateful for. 4 young brothers on February 1st, 1960, decide for some reason, okay? This is without instruction or direction from some Pan-Africanist movement or something, right? To go to what was downtown in Greensboro and go to a lunch counter and sit at the lunch counter that is only supposed to serve white people. They decide, we're going to sit and we're going to demand to be served. Nobody knew, especially them, least of all them, or the white people, the waiters or whatever they are. What would happen? They just did it. And I think it is important for us to understand the motivation out of it. The motivation is not to be able to sit next to white people and eat with them and eat what they eat. The motivation is that you feel powerless to be in a society that can humiliate you by saying that your people cannot do this, cannot do that, cannot do the other. And that act of theirs ignited a flame. And it did not ignite a flame of we want to be white or we want to be with white people. That was the misconstruing of it, the distortion of it into something which fit the needs of Yurugu more, okay? But really what it came from and what it ignited in me or triggered in me was something that had not been triggered before. Was there, but it wasn't nurtured. Nurtured is the word, not triggered, nurtured. And that was what we called at the time Black nationalism, which had its place.
Yes.
I felt a kind of pride in what those brothers did.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it mushroomed so that you had young people all over the South and throughout the country doing what became called a sitting in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that while we developed beyond that, and so we criticized it from another vantage point. And somebody like Omawale Malcolm X was way ahead, that we need to, I can speak from personal experience as to the value of it. And it captured the imagination of people all over the world, including African people on the continent. Because when I did get to the continent, I mean, the way Africans, continental Africans saw us here, what we were doing was,
let them know, because this thing that is being pushed now, that apparently Africans on the continents do not respect or appreciate you,
no,
which has some truth. But talk about that.
Absolutely. So anyway, I want to say that that happened, and what it for me was to bring out the racial identification and the pride in me, and what I was proud of was the fact that here was this movement that was political, and we were in leadership, which was very different from what I had been exposed to prior. It was like, you had white people who were revolutionaries, and white people who were doing this, and white people who, so it's white people telling you how you should be fighting your own thing.
Imagine that.
And I came to a point where I didn't want none of them to be involved in nothing we did. And was very, very proud of the fact that this was being led by young Black people. So I say all that to say that it caused a radical change in me. It brought me to a part of myself, my potential, that I'm very happy for and grateful for. And it's all because these four young men had the courage to, use their imagination to say, hey, we're going to go down there and we're going to confront them. The idea of confrontation and us doing it ourselves. Anyway, so that happened in between undergraduate and graduate. So undergraduate, you picture this. Here's me, not really understanding who I am, as an African soldier. And studying, what my major was, undergraduate, was philosophy.
Oh.
I didn't know why the ancestors had me do that, but it came out to be so practical.
Mhm.
in a way that they would never, ever, they being the enemy, think that, philosophy was not supposed to be practical.
Mhm.
Your head was supposed to be in the clouds and had nothing to do with it. But what happened was I studied them. I studied the way they think.
Exactly.
But the significance of that between undergraduate and then graduate was, what do you call it, 180?
A
Yeah,
180. Mhm.
yeah, okay.
You did a 180.
So that's what happened. By the time I got to graduate school, I come in, I'm already very, very politicized.
Mhm.
So I'm in the school, but I ain't thinking that they have anything to teach me
Mhm.
except them. That's what I can learn from them. I can study them. And that's what I did. I decided, okay, you want to do anthropology? I'll do anthropology. I'll do what they call participant observation.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Margaret
what I
Mead.
did.
Mhm.
I said, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to really know
Mhm.
them.
Mhm.
And that's what I did. And so I decided that I would use that time to do that.
Mhm.
And I amassed all of this data, you could say,
Yes, you did.
on how they think and how they use thought to dominate and
Mhm.
control. So the dissertation that I wrote, the title of it was an ethnological critique of the dominant modes of European thought and behavior.
Mhm.
Now, can you imagine doing that in their graduate school? Under I mean, they were like, what?
I'm surprised
But
it was approved. That your
that's what I
committee
did.
approved it.
Oh, they didn't. It was a battle. The
I'm sure
defenses
it
of her
was.
work.
I'm sure it was. Yep.
It was very interesting, though. Very interesting.
Mm.
So I did that, and then afterwards, but in the meantime, so I gotta say this. So I went through the rite of passage
Mhm.
of Mississippi and SNCC and all, and I came to a point of moving beyond that. You know, integration was definitely not what I wanted.
Mhm.
And I sometime I'll come back and talk about the fact that I was totally, totally, totally opposed to what they call Freedom Summer,
Oh.
which, by the way, I have seen erroneously the robotic thing gives out as information that that's where I became part of the movement. I was not.
That's
I was
funny.
totally
It's not
against it.
funny, but
Totally
yeah.
against it.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So coming out of that and being critical, there were a small group of us who we didn't want to be in that anymore.
Mhm.
And a couple of the people in our little group, there were about 5 of us maybe. Um, Came out of New Orleans, which was a core base. Core was Congress of Racial Equality,
Uh-huh.
not SNCC.
Yep.
And they decided to have a conference, and the conference was African civilization. That was 1966. And others in our group were familiar with, they were ahead of us, and they were familiar with Nana John Henry Clark. And we brought Nana John Henry Clark down to New Orleans to present and teach us in this conference. That was the time at which I met him. That, of course, changed my life.
Yeah.
And he gave me the vision of Pan-Africanism.
Yeah.
I mean, a real Pan-Africanism. And put me on that path. I call it the path to ideological clarity. And he became my ideological father.
Yeah.
That is what happens before graduate school. So when I go in there, I'm going with that. You see what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh no, buddy, you ain't gonna do this to me. And if I'm here, I'm gonna use it for a purpose. So I come up with all of this data and this raw material. And when I finish the the doctorate business, Nana Clark brings me to Hunter, which is where he was teaching. And he feels like that's where I can develop. And he can close to him, and he's supporting me and all that. And the time that he's working with me and he's influencing me, and he's a friend as well. He's not only a Jegna, but he's, I loved him. He's saying to me all the time, when are you going to write this book? You got to write this book. So I was like, after doing the dissertation and doing all that, I didn't want to think about that stuff anymore. I didn't want to look at it. I didn't want to, And I said, no, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to do that. He said, okay, I'll tell you what. He said, then take chapters and get articles, and I will get them published. And that's what he did.
Great.
So there are articles now that you can get. One is called the Demystification of Objectivity. That's somewhere in some journal somewhere. There are a few others, but he got them. That's what he did for me. And he got the first version of The Circle was published as a long article in Présence Africaine. Now, Présence Africaine, our people need to know, because it was like according to him, it was like once your stuff is in there, you're made. But at a certain period of our development and our movement, intellectually, Présence Africaine was the thing. So you have Job and all of that. So he's after me. Every time I would see Nana, he would say, "When are you working on the book? Where's the book? Is the book done? Is the book done yet?" And I'm not feeling doing the book. So finally, at some point, I don't know what did it, but I said, okay, let me tackle this thing. And this is the important thing for our community, our family, to hear. So I looked remember, I have all of this stuff that was the dissertation, the critique of European cultural thought and behavior. And I said, okay, how am I going to make this into a book, a study, really, that's valuable? And you know what happened? Now, this is important. I'm like, but I can't use anything that I learned in anthropology or in sociology, or that I learned in European thought modality. I can't use that to critique them. So where does that leave me? Where does that leave me? It means I got to create my own theoretical framework, y'all. Wow. How do you do that? Woo! Okay? So, and I knew that I wanted to base it in, see, I wanted to use the the African worldview as a paradigm, which I don't think we've done really. We've talked about the African worldview, but we have not used it paradigmatically. We have not used it as a model for thinking. And that's what I wanted to do. I also wanted to do, I wanted to use, I had already worked on the circle, where I consciously, intentionally said, I want to use African terms for things.
Yeah.
I want to use our language. I felt like our African language is going to be key in the capturing, the claiming of African mind. Language is going to be extremely important, because it's in language that worldview is expressed. That's why. That's and identity and knowing who you are and all of that.
I agree.
That's why in the African schools, in the US schools, they don't want you to speak your language.
You know,
They don't want our children to speak in what we might call Ebonics, if we in the way we talk at home. They don't want you. You have those stories of Ngugi.
I was about to say. I was about to say, in his most recent book, before he transitions, Decolonizing Language and Other Revolutionary Ideas, he says exactly that. He says, I'm forgetting the name now. Oh, let me check if I clipped it. Oh my goodness. Because it's good to identify. It's important to identify. Yes, it's important to identify these criminals, because you go and see, like you said, what they're telling us about themselves.
Absolutely.
Thomas Babington and the poet Edmund Spencer, all of them talking about how it is important to teach us English. And they said how they were going to go about it was to teach a few of us English until they're Europeanized. So we're going to cover that book.
And yeah, got to, because it shows how intentional their method was. They had a method.
Yes.
Okay, so I decided that, okay, here I am. I'm going to create this thing. And one of the things was, here I wanted to deconstruct all of European culture, because I felt the culture was political, that it was all an assault on us. We needed to understand that, but that the academy was upholding it through the myth of objectivity. So how do you do that? So people say, oh, you can't study. Now they could, mind you, they're studying us all the time, right? But what they're saying is, you can't study Europe because Europe is so vast. Europe is so complex. Europe is so this and that. There's no way you can study it as a whole. which is what I wanted to do. So I had to find some, had to decode it. I had to find something which was the way, a theme of it, you know, the way in which it all came together. And so I developed the thing of the idea of a seed, which I was getting from nature in
But
Nduku.
but do you know what?
I
Do you
said
know
a
what?
seed is incredible when you think
Yeah.
about it. It just blew my mind. I was thinking, okay, what is it? Is it an acorn? Whatever it is, there's something that makes an oak tree. There's something that
Mm,
makes a peach tree. There's something that makes it, you know, and whatever does the oak tree, it's not going to make apples.
mm-mm.
It's not gonna. It's so there's something in that seed. There's like a force
Mm-hmm.
or an
Mm-hmm.
energy that is encapsulated within that seed that is so powerful and so directed and
Yeah.
focused that it comes out with what it was intended to do.
Mm-hmm. And if you try to change it, it gives you something else.
Oh, you can't do that.
No,
Which
because that's what they're doing
saying
with
we need to,
GMO.
that's what I was going to say. We need to talk about Monsanto and the whole seed thing,
Exactly.
and they're controlling. I mean, what is that? You know. So
Exactly.
anyway, so that's what why I said I got a seal, and I said the term I'm gonna use, and I got this a sealy, not knowing that that's also Arabic, right? The term, no. So anyway, the people who wanted to criticize me say that.
I'm going to look that up quickly,
But
yeah.
that's okay. That's go. I got a sealy, and I began to work on it as a practical concept. So I developed that, and I said I'm going to show how that once you can determine the nature of the asili, then what you do is you look at.
Yeah, maybe a quick break to drink some water, Mama Marimba Ani. And for me
Just a
to
sip
also,
because
yes,
I
but
don't want to stop
also,
now.
no,
Okay,
but
go ahead.
also, yes, I want to also point something out as you continue. Maybe as a point of clarification for you, I don't know what it will do to you.
Right.
I believe what happens to you that helps you create Yurugu, because I identify with it
Yes. Yeah.
as I'm reading,
Thank
I
you.
identified with it, is that you're Africanized through Baba Nana John
Right.
Henry Clark, because John Henry
Right.
Clark intentionally said, I want to learn about my people.
Right.
And he was told by Nana Schomburg, go learn about your enemy and then learn about your people. So your Jegna is someone who was already Africanized, and that's what he's bringing you into. Because even you think you're seeing things without knowing, but you have knowing, but your knowing is in your ancestral kanda.
Absolutely.
So you are not aware of it yet because you're not connected to African spirituality fully, but that's what's happening to you. You're being called back by your ancestors.
I know.
And while you're being called back, they're connecting you to the information even without you knowing.
That's right. That's right.
So go on,
And you know
on,
what?
Mama.
We have comrade, if I can use that word, but brother in the movement, Baba Kokai, and from the get-go, he called AI ancestral intuition.
Exactly. For us.
And the intuition is when you are learning. You're learning from spirit. You see, and go in the academy, if you accept their stuff, what happens is you deny spirit. Their worldview is based on a denial of spirit. And their science, by the way, is based on denial of spirit, whereas ours is spirit. Anyway, so I figured, I said, that's going to be the way to analyze them and deconstruct their thing, is by getting this concept of asili, which is, what is the seed that makes their culture. And see, the value of that is, once we understand it, and I feel another thing, people will sometimes ask me questions. Well, this is happening, that's happening, and I'm in school and they're doing this and I'm like, but you didn't really read the book, because if you understand the concept of asili, you will always understand what they're doing. Because they're always seeking everything they do. They never do anything in our interest or for the good of African people.
Not just what they're doing, Mama Marimba Ani, but also what Europeanized Africans are doing. And now I'm talking about the misleaders. You will understand it if you understand asili, European asili.
And you have to understand that what that does is it works for European power, because that's what the asili is, their cultural thought. That's what it does. But anyway, okay, so I decided that then to organize, I had all of this material, but when you're doing something like this, the organization of it into a book form is very challenging, to say the least. So I figured that I would take every different aspect of the culture and show how it plays out in that. And that reminds me of Nana Francis and her talking about the system of what she calls white supremacy, I call white power, and that it functions in every area of what she calls people activity. But we have to understand that. So I did that. So it was a thing of organizing all this material. So then I had to say, okay, but what concepts am I going to use? I don't want to use their concepts to analyze them. So I had to create concepts. My sister, Dada, I had to create concepts. And so I came up with Utama is like culture or civilization. What, do you know that at all?
Utama. I'm not familiar with Utama, and I'm going to look it up. But Utama, okay. Yes, I'm going to look it up.
So I got that, and then what I did was I put it together with, I said there has to be a way of thinking that is directed by the asili, by what the asili needs, which in this case is power over others, right? And so I thought, though, do you know a term for thought?
Oh, this one is Arabic. I know this one. I was about to say, oh my goodness. Just as I'm saying it, I was like, this is Arabic. But as I think about thought, and I'll go to Kikamba so that maybe we find it. Utama, the reason I'm not familiar with it, we encountered Utamaduni, so which is culture. So maybe that's where you get it from.
Utamaduni, yes. That's what it was. Yes. That's what it was. Utamaduni. Yes. So I took part of it. I took Utama. But then I got Wazo from somewhere. So you have to look that up.
Wazo is thought. So Yes, thank
That's
you.
what,
You
so I
see,
put it together.
Wazo.
And so the concept that I created, I said, I'm gonna talk about their utamawazo. That, and I'm gonna call that is what I call culturally structured thought. So that's the way you think that is dictated by your culture. You see? So then when I came up with that, and then I said, but there's also an energy force somewhere. And that was Rojo, which was like close to the spirit, maybe, or something like that.
The soul, yes.
Okay. So I made that Utama Rojo. So I said those together, they are aspects of the Asili.
Yes.
So then I said to myself, now this is deep. I said, oh my gosh, but those terms are so weird. And, you know, people are not gonna, they're just gonna reject them. And I'm thinking about us now, because the whole book was written for us, not for white people at all. And I thought about it, and then I said to myself, well, wait a second. And when you are in graduate school and you got to study foundations of sociological thought, you learn terms like Gemeinschaft, Gesellschaft. And I was like, well, wait a second. If that's what I was supposed to learn and that's what people are using in their thing, why can't I say Utamawaso?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because certainly you're not comfortable. I'm not comfortable with Gemeinschaft. That's not, what is that? But you do. You force yourself to do it because you think it's right, because they're the smartest people, because they are who they are. Why can't we do our own thing? Why can't we? So I created a whole theoretical structure and framework, and that's what that is.
Asante.
Utamawazo, Utamaroho. And then the wonderful thing is that, but people are using them. Our people are able to use it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And I want to encourage that.
And now that I'm thinking,
Go
because
ahead.
I didn't do it before, I didn't put the descriptions. What I'm going to do, and I encourage you all to subscribe, follow, and find these videos. I'm going to do videos explaining them in detail. Each video,
Right.
Utamaroho, Utamawazo, and all that. So that yes, so that more people can find it easier to comprehend what is being said in the book.
And that's in the glossary. And I also want, which I put in the glossary in the front, not in the back. So, you know, it can be before you.
I appreciate you did that.
To help you negotiate it.
Asante. Yes.
Now, another thing is, though, those diagrams or charts, I thought if maybe some of these relationships, if I can diagram them.
For the see,
then but I did that, so I think people should also, I would appreciate they would study those and see if they work at all.
And we're going to look at one of them right now. I'm glad you said that. Yes.
Okay, good.
But also, yes, I will say, for those because some of us are stronger. I'm not going to say that some of us are one thing or the other.
Right.
We all have these characteristics, but some are stronger in some individuals. And some of us are stronger visual learners. Start there.
Right. Absolutely.
Start there.
And
if you're a stronger visual learner.
To make it visual, I like that. I think that it should be done. That's why I wanted to do those.
I agree.
So
I'm going to ask you before we continue. Do you still want to continue? We have 3 questions of mine and 3 questions from the audience. You want to continue?
Okay. Yes, I want to get the audience, the community. Yeah.
And sure. at the end, I also want to share. You have people are sharing their love. People they are sharing their stories with you, their encounters with
Oh,
you,
wow.
their experience with you. So
Good,
I want to do that at the end because I think it's important for you to
good,
receive that
good,
from the
good, good.
community. Yes. So
Right.
this is the image. You can't see it. Don't even bother, Mama Marimba. You can't see it. I'm doing
Okay.
it for the
Okay.
audience. So I will break it down for you as we agreed. So this is on page 98. For those of you who have your books, and if you're a good student, you brought your book with you to class today. Well, I'm not gonna. That was me throwing in a joke. You're still a student, good or bad. Hopefully, next time you learn and you're going to bring your book with you. That's the point of me saying that, so that it
Okay.
makes you uncomfortable enough to say, my elder said this or my peer said this last time. I cannot forget. That's what it's not supposed to shame
Right,
you
right, right.
into obliteration. No, it's supposed to because that's Mama Marimba, and we can talk about this later. That's why proverbs are essential in our culture. When an elder told you a proverb, some of them were insulting, some of them were straight up insulting, but you didn't sit there and say, why have you insulted me? As African young ones, we understood it was a lesson and we moved accordingly if we understood what it was for. We didn't get in our feelings. We didn't say, I was traumatized by my elder, I need mental therapy. No.
Right,
You
right.
use that moment. You use that moment to move accordingly so that you would avoid the situation that they were warning you about. So I will say that. So this image, Mama Marimba, is figure 1 on page 98. You have an image, and you mentioned that it's related to Vernon, Vixen, and so you'll break it
Right.
down, right? And the object
Vern
measure.
Dixon. Right.
Van
Right.
Dixon, yes. So above, it's the image. At the top are 2 separate circles. One circle above it says human, and inside of it says self, affect, subject, ego, self-consciousness. In between, and these 2 circles, where between the one circle and the other, they have broken line. It's a broken line. The line is not complete. Between there is gap in quotation marks. And then the other circle. And above that circle is non-human phenomenal world. And in the circle
Right.
is
Right.
other men, nature, invisible
Right.
beings,
Right.
concepts.
Right. Right.
And on the other side of that is object, it. And above that, it says
Right.
Euro-American worldview. That's the image that represents their worldview. And then we come down to an Africanized worldview. Above the circle
Right.
is human, straight line, not broken, not curved, straight line to person, thou. And then there's a complete circle, one big circle. And inside this one circle is human beings, nature, self, subject, concepts, invisible beings, affect, ego, phenomenal world, self-consciousness, other men. African culture is one. Mama
African.
Marimba Ani.
Right.
Yes. Speak about it, please.
So that's African. The one, the
That's
big circle where everything is together. Yeah.
Dio.
And so the important thing here is that what Platonic thought did, which keep in mind he's saying is superior. Plato is saying this is what,
Yep.
and while within the republic, it's the are supposed to be in control of those who don't know how to think, those who are in the cave, right? What happens is Europe develops, and that Asili develops, is that the white people, Europeans, become the philosopher king gold people, and we become nature. Okay? And nature is bad. Nature, everything. You want to overcome nature. You want to conquer nature. Because you want to conquer the natural part of yourself, as a matter of fact. Because only by doing that can you think well. So a thing where you have the big circle where we are a part of what it is that we study, is non-thought to Plato. It's inferior. It's backward. You see? And what's superior is you've got to be able to separate yourself from what you are studying. And that is what they call objectivity. And that is impossible. A human being lives in a culture, and so you come with values. You get it?
Yes.
So there is no such thing. So a scientist is supposed to be a totally objective, cold,
and they'll tell you that,
non-emotional, brilliant being, because and what it is they have the ability to do is to make of phenomenon, by the way, are simply things that are experienced. They can make everything into an it, an object. Now, what that does is it also facilitates European, I have a chapter 8, European behavior towards others, which is a litany of all what they've done in the world.
Christianity is in there too. Yep.
I mean, the record stands for itself. It's not me saying it. You know, just because I think Black and I think African and I'm a revolutionary, and ain't that. You did this. And it's a record of what you did. This is how you have acted in and on the world.
Exactly.
And what helped you to do it was by making an object of treating everything as it. And so we in Ma'afa become the objects which can be controlled by white people. And that's what power is for them, control of the other. You see? So the fact that the way they perceive phenomena is self-other. You get that? Everybody is self and other. You can make that split between self and other. That is the initial, that's the beginning of political behavior.
Yeah.
So European, their advantage is that they think almost coming out of the womb politically. Where we're too inclusive. Now, when anthropologists were supposed to be studying Africans, they called the way we believe animism. And what they meant by that, they saw that we get their spirit in everything for us. So the tree has a spirit. And in fact, different trees have different spirit. And so different wood has got to be used for different purposes. So if you're making a drum, you're going to be very careful about what tree you get the wood from for the drum. And getting that wood from the tree is a ritual. It's got to be, because you are asking for something and taking something from and you don't just do that. You don't do that anywhere in nature. And then the supposed to be thinking people are now all into what they are doing to the environment. But they could do that because of how they regarded nature. They never considered themselves as part of nature.
They consider themselves superior to it.
Right. And didn't want to be dependent on nature. And we know that we're totally interdependent with nature. And it is that which gives us life and sustains life. So here they are. Yurugu is it's of death, and that's all they can do.
Can I run something by you, Mama Marimba Ani, and see what it brings out? So I'm saying they have encountered nature in two ways that they cannot, that it's very adversarial to them. So the Ice Age.
Right, that's true. That's true.
Right? And the sun.
True. That's true. That's a good point.
And so therefore,
the sun is like,
and so therefore, and I can see how that can transform, because we learn this in biology, how different, what they call evolution, how different animals will morph and change based on their environment. It will change their acili almost. And now I'm going back to that. And therefore, I believe, and I've said this, the Ice Age and the sun has made them who they are. But if that inspires anything from you. Their fear of it.
Well, we can think about it. And I'm not going to pretend that I did that in Yurugu. And in fact, I even make that point that I don't really deal with cause in the book. However, I have a part, I think it's in chapter 8, that gives different, and I used to teach a course of this when I was at Hunter, and I did it for the children in Ahab. Theories, I call it theories of white racism. And so in that, I give just a little view of Baba Kobe.
Yes.
Definitely Richard King. People need to read. And then, oh God, what's the white guy? The guy who Covell. No, not Covell. People don't understand Covell.
Yeah, you do mention.
There's another one. There's another one. Who's the one who calls them, who talks about Neanderthal and stuff? People don't know. And in fact, 9 o'clock might even have, I don't know if he did a forward to it, but he did something to it. What's it? Iceman Inheritance. I know you would know because you're a reader.
That's the other book that reminds me. That's the other book that reminds me of Yurugu. That book. Yep.
No, Iceman Inheritance is very important because I use that in my class.
Yeah.
Because what I like to do is see if people really, really follow the argument of what somebody is presenting in a book. And Yurugu, the book, is one long argument. It's an argument. That's what it is. I'm giving it an argument. Okay. But Iceman Inheritance is very, very tricky, which people don't get. People don't get it because we read it and we think, and he's a journalist, the guy who wrote it. Remember the guy's name? Anyway, and we think, oh, here's a white guy who really, he's putting down white people. And he does some stuff in it that's valuable because he talks about the control of time, by the way. And he talks about what he calls the Chronos complex. And that is good to know because the chrono, you see, there's another thing that we don't get. The importance of mythology. Myth is not just a lie. Myth
No.
it can be also seen as the highest expression of truth in the sense of it's what a people out of a culture ideally, they see as true. So, the psychologists, somebody who now calls themselves a psychologist who went through, I don't care who they are, but if they went through the academy and got their degree, they had to study Freud.
Yep.
And that includes Nana Francis. But we have a tendency to accept Freudian psychology as given. You cannot do that. What Freud did that was good was that he used European mythology to analyze Europeans. But he said it was universal. So if he talks about the anal complex or he talks about the Oedipus complex, people take that to be universal. But that's about them. It's their illness. That ain't about us. We didn't have no Oedipal thing and all of that. You see what I'm saying? But that's what our psychologists should be doing. If they call themselves psychologists, they need to be looking critically at breaking it down and deconstructing it the way I tried to do in Yurugu with their theory.
A challenge, a most worthy and necessary challenge for our young people who are now going into learning. Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So,
so get back to the Iceman inheritance. I just want to quickly say that Kronos was someone who was afraid of. He was challenged by. Check this out. This is so deep. You see, in the Oedipal complex, you are incompetent father. You get this, y'all? For your mother, really.
Yep.
That's Yurugu stuff, right? And in Iceman Inheritance, what he says is that Europeans suffer from Kronos complex, which means they are in competition with their children. They are afraid that their children will outdo them.
Yep.
They are also in competition with their ancestors, that they want to outdo their ancestors, which is totally not African. You see what I'm saying? Where we are learning from our ancestors, we value what they did, and we want to be able to. They show us the way. So he says that Europeans suffer from the Kronos complex, which is time. They want to control time. They don't want the future to happen because the future will mean that they are outdone, that their children are going to do better than they did. Isn't that crazy?
It's an inferiority complex that's amazing, astounding.
Absolutely.
Astounding.
And he does that, and it's good in that book. But he also says that they discovered, he said Europeans are the first to discover time. So while we think the book is putting down Europeans, he ends up by implying that they're the smartest people in the world because they invented time and discovered time. I want you to look back at his book. You see?
Yeah. despite the fact Africans have tapped into cosmology and have a time of harvest and a
Full
time of growing.
consideration of African cosmology, right? Which is the brilliance and the wonderful benefit of Tata Fukiao.
Yes.
Is African cosmology. He's actually presenting a conception of how the universe came to be and how it works naturally. And what is life?
And
so we need to start. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to add also Nana Fukiao also brings us Mbongi, but also as you're saying, the universe, that circular
right.
Dikenga element, Dikenga, Mama Marimba.
Dikenga. Absolutely. You see? So
let's move on to the next one so that we give you a break soon.
What is the family asking?
Two of them, I don't know. Let me run them by you and you tell me whether you want to move on to the family questions or deal with this. The white savior and xenophilia. Do we want to talk about them? White savior concept and xenophilia. So let me read the two parts of the book so that you have that context to go by.
Well, I know about the white savior. I mean, that's like, whoa.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yes. On page 26,
that's serious, because that's that Christianity thing is really.
Thank you. Which is why I felt the need for us to do it, despite being. Right. I'm not even going to tell you how long we've been here because you're moving well, so I will not limit you with the time concept of Europeans. Anyway, I digress. Page 266. You have it here. You say European nationalistic propaganda. But it is also consistent with the operative European self-image as world peacemaker, world organizer, and world superior. The white man's burden concept is not merely propaganda. It is an internalized self-portrait that functions normatively. Let's talk about that.
Right.
And then we'll go to xenophilia.
And people understand normatively means that it encourages you in a certain kind of behavior. And
it's
that's
the norm.
Important.
It normalizes it.
Right. It normalizes it, but it also is it's like what you should do.
For me as a Kenyan, it meant I was going to be beaten on my bum if I didn't speak English and I spoke Kiswahili or Kikamba in school. That's what it meant.
Right.
We were beaten.
So what else in terms of question?
So the white savior concept. What should our people look out for?
The savior who just
yes.
See, when I talk about, I hear these critiques of Christianity, which I'm very glad, especially on the continent, we need that very badly.
I think you should stop and take some water, Mama Marimba. Just drink some water and just recenter.
Okay, thank you so much. The concept of sin is like this brilliant political weapon that Yurugu came up with. Not only do they say, and then we get confused because we confuse religion with spirit, which the major and what they call the major religions and the world religions, these are all words that you get in the academy. They aren't spiritual. They are, as 9 o'clock calls it, political instruments.
Mhm.
As Baba Tasu said, they are religion is a deification of somebody's culture. And I mean, and if you follow the Asili as mechanisms of control,
Mhm.
they convince us, first of all, that they're bringing us religion, like that's a good thing. Like
Yeah.
we didn't have spirit before. We're obviously more spiritual than them. Um, but see, we didn't use spiritual the way we should have,
No.
or it would have told us, don't beware these, because we had prophets. That's another thing, Nduku.
Remember
And
Ayikwe Yama talks about it in 2000 seasons?
he
Yes.
does, and I have friends, Baba Kamau and
Mhm.
Mama Wambui from Kenya, who are telling me
Mhm.
about the prophet in Kenya, who, and I don't know the name, but who, and if they're in here, they could put it in the comments,
Yes, please.
who they prophesied the coming of Yurugu
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
Africa,
Mhm.
but we didn't listen to them and didn't act accordingly. And almost every African cultural language group, if you study them, has some tradition of that.
Yeah.
Some seer, as Baba Aikwe would call them, or prophet, or whatever you want, who prophesied the coming and said,
Mhm.
"Beware."
Mhm.
But the xenophilia, which
Yes.
Job talks about in his what we call the two cradle theory,
Mhm.
that's a problem for us. It's very non-political.
I can read it so that you speak to it. That part of the book where you talk about xenophilia and Diop.
Oh, I do. Okay.
Yes.
Well, okay, but I would really rather take time with the comments. Are there other questions?
All right, let's do that then. Let's do that.
Yeah.
So someone asks, and I'll put it up, and it's interesting because anyway, that's the name.
Mm-hmm.
Melissa Sims 2348. Our people would rather be known by that than by I digress. What type of
Okay.
war? War with weapons, war with thoughts, because before we said we are at war, right? She's saying, what type of war? War with weapons, war with thoughts, war with black magic. How can you fight a war with a demon with absolutely no ethical, moral, or spiritual conscience? I will have to read this, I guess, talking about reading Yurugu.
They said, how can you fight a war? Say it again.
With a demon with absolutely no
Right.
ethic, moral, or spiritual conscience.
So they're saying practically what kind of war? That's
They're
what they're
asking,
saying?
they're asking, do we fight a war with
So I'm
weapons?
saying, hey, I'm saying war. Isn't a weapon something that you use in war?
It is.
What is a weapon?
It is something that you use in war to defend yourself.
Yeah, we need weapons. Yeah. I'll tell you one thing you don't do.
Mm.
A mistake that we've made. I
Mhm.
think it's very good that we have these podcasts, that we have these
Mhm.
platforms, and we have these discussions. I think it is a mistake for us to regard them as what I would call war rooms.
Mm. They do call
I
them
don't
that.
think I don't think we're not trained. Well, one thing, answer to that person's question. We definitely don't. We need training, and we need discipline. We need focus. We need to act with intentionality. Having said that, while I think the discussion is good, it has its limitations, and I think we need to understand that.
Agreed.
In terms of what you accomplish in depending on where you're at and the platform and all that.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
Agreed. Yeah. But in the limited space we are in, we are African. Okay. We're not lineal. We don't have to take this or the other. We take everything that is required based on the need and the challenge. If that answers the question without getting into it, which we will not do in this space.
I see what you're saying in terms of answering the person's question.
Exactly.
Yeah, we got to do what we got to do. But one thing you don't do in answer to that person's question, you do not approach or think that you're fighting a psychopath with moral suasion. I don't know if that helps to answer part of your question.
It not only helps to answer it, I'm going to expand on that. You cannot come here talking about Nduku, you're being aggressive.
Absolutely.
You cannot come here talking about Nduku, you're not being professional.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't seek to be professional. I'm at war.
Yeah, those are concepts. Yeah, that's a concept that I think really, that's a definite academic Yurugu concept that is counterproductive to African sovereignty. Just as the idea of success, what we consider to be success.
Progress, which you talk about in the book. Progress,
definitely.
Political correctness, all this nonsense.
Definitely. Right.
Turn the other cheek, the most basic one that
No. And see, that's, yeah. No.
All right.
No.
So we move on to the next one.
Yes.
What did you mean by, first of all, I'm going to say this to those of you in the chat because I'm in the process of Africanizing and because I'm being intentional about letting us know protocol. When you're speaking to an elder, you don't say, what did she mean? You say, what did Mama Marimba Ani or Mama Marimba mean? So I say this to my children all the time. Mama Marimba Ani, I'm digressing, but it's important.
Right.
I say this to my children all the time. If I'm in the room and my son is explaining something to the others and he says, she,
absolutely,
and he's talking about me, I'm saying, no. I am not she to you. Mom said, my mom said, it's a point of respect. So just something to point out, if whoever asked this question is a Mwana Ubuntu and you care to Africanize, correct that. So your question should be, what did Mama Marimba mean by ritually acting out ideologies in June? I guess you spoke somewhere in June.
Okay, good. It is a good question.
Yes.
And yes, and it is Mama Marimba. And this is all very personal for me, so don't mind being personal. This is me. I'm personal. I'm not this. This is not the academy.
You're not a robot. You're a human being.
So you don't have to. Yeah. It's for real. It's well. Okay. We can do a whole nother session on that, but I do think that one of the most important and valuable things that we get from our ancestors and our ancestral civilization that we haven't used enough and don't understand is what I would call ritual drama, which is the opposite of the Platonic and the what Vernon Dixon calls object measure. is that we as Africans, the highest form of learning and and the best form of learning is when you become part of what it is that you're studying. You involve yourself with spirit, with emotion, with feeling, in whatever it is that you are attempting to understand. So if we're studying, if we want our children to understand what we want our children to praise our ancestors and our ancestral way, our way, then what we do is we have them act out and participate in and acting out of what our ancestors did, what they experienced, what they did to survive, what they did to they had our ancestors here were thrown into, what did you call it, Nduku? Whatever we call it. And everything that we would use in our culture to fight with, to live with, to survive with, was taken away from us, including our language, our relationship with each other. It was the attempt was to destroy it. Our music, how we use music, and how brilliant African music is. All different forms of African music. And so what we had to do was to find ways of taking what was available to us and making that into weapons. Weapons which would give us some distance from the psychotic, dominating, controlling, anti-African way of Yurugu.
I think this is how and you can correct me if I'm wrong, as I'm remembering the story told to me about the Haitian Revolution. They use ritual acting to get into war mode on that day. Yes.
Well, also, it's more, I think, I don't know if people are familiar with the book, Let the Circle Be Unbroken, but that's what that's about.
I just shared it with them. Yes, I shared it with them. Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Okay. But speaking of the Haitian Revolution, that is what we need to study. And in answer to the sister's question, how do you fight? There's an answer right there.
Yeah.
She said, how do you fight a demon that whatever she said? I'm saying she. I don't know if it was she or what, but we need to study the Haitian Revolution.
I agree.
It's the greatest achievement and it's an African achievement.
And the Kenyan Land and Freedom Army.
Right.
Which I will be, we'll talk about that at another time.
Right.
We will, because, yes.
Yep.
A conversation for a different space, my elder, Mama Marimba Ani.
Absolutely. But that right there, the Land and Freedom Army will be very instructive, I think.
Yeah. Ngoge, in the same book, in his book, and I think I shared it in the chat, in the comments already. He says, because he wrote it 2025, he published it. It was published. He said, I know it would be a shock to young ones today to hear that the Kenya Land and Freedom Army actually manufactured their own guns. They had gun factories that they made their own guns.
Absolutely.
Yes. So just
It's
why
a
are the books
wonderful thing, though.
Yes. Why are the books of our scholars so expensive to put us off not purchasing to read? I remember the first time I searched for Yurugu on Amazon, it was over £200. I have the answer, but Mama Marimba, let's hear.
Okay, first of all, one answer to that, there are a couple of answers to that. And I'm going to let Baba Damani give one answer to it, because we have to do our own publishing. But one thing is, people have become conditioned, that's one thing, to go into Amazon. I mean, I'll hear people, and the first thing they say to me is they went to Amazon to get stuff. Whereas this Yurugu is published by a wonderful African, Baba Nati, out of Baltimore, by African World Books. It was originally published by Baba Kasahun, which was African World Press. And then we kind of took it over, and I became involved in the publication myself. Now, Amazon is an example of how Yurugu organizes for war, and to understand the entire culture. The entire culture is about them gaining control and domination over other. And Amazon as a company is a case in point. So one of the things that Amazon does is, if they identify a book as being valuable to us, or something that we want, they'll put a price on it. But also, you have to understand that people on Amazon you have individuals who are selling.
Yes, self-publishing, but it's not really self-publishing, given the money. We'll talk about it. Yeah.
And I don't mean self-publishing.
Oh, yes,
I mean,
yes.
What do you call that when somebody has a store and they're selling something?
They do it on YouTube too. No, not vendors, not vendors. There's another word.
It's something like that. It's something like that. But they will put something up, and they'll put whatever it is they think they can get. And if they thought they could get you to pay $1,000, they'll put that up there. So that's one answer to your question. Don't go to Amazon. The other is, and we're going to let Baba Damani talk a little bit. We need our own. And we now have a Pan-African publishing company. But you see, what we need is a whole system. The system needs to be so that one part of the system feeds the other, but it all has the same objective, and the objective is to get our books to our people as affordable as possible. So that's another part of it. So you've got to understand, you're critiquing a whole system, and probably Yurugu, which was not said in the book, we should look at European culture as a system. of white power.
Yeah.
You know,
I think it's you can derive it from the book. So now the
okay,
job is on those of us who have taught and do
is to
pass on
apply
knowledge, is to
the
apply
analysis.
exactly to the occasion or to the
Yes,
different aspects of
and
life.
that's what I
Yes,
think we haven't done. Yeah.
yes, yeah, we will do that.
Um. So, Baba Damani, do you want to talk about deeply rooted press?
I will say, as
Yeah.
Baba Demani struggles with coming on camera, that I will be bringing you on after I read the brother's book to talk about the book. So I hope by then you'll be ready to answer the call, my brother. You will be coming on to talk about the work you do and the book once I read the book.
There is also another a dynamic that's happening, and that is that affects the publishing enterprise, whatever we call it. Is that paper has jumped in terms of the price of paper. So, and you got to keep in mind, you're talking about printing, you're talking about all of that. And for the most part, we don't have our own press.
I was about to say.
You understand that? So that means that you're dealing with usually Yurugu owned press. And so I don't care how sovereignist the text might be, it's where you have the book printed, you're paying this Yurugu to do it, right? And so, but the prices of books have gone up.
Yeah, yeah, and that's also to discourage reading.
Another thing to discourage reading is that what you were talking about, that we, it's a mixed bag thing. But I mean, you go online, our children, instead of reading, they're,
No, I was in a class as a substitute.
And they're getting something from the robots.
Yep. We're going to change that, Mama Marimba Ani. We're going to change that. We are going to change that.
Okay. But anyway, so
yes. We have the last question.
Disappointed, I'm very much okay. But having said all of this, I'm a person, it'll seem contradictory. I love being a student.
Yes.
I love learning. I love reading. And so I'm old school in that sense. And I taught, for 25 years at undergraduate. And so with my granddaughter and my other that I can call grandchildren, they may not be biological children, they're going to college. So I'm looking at, okay, well, show me the syllabus. They don't even get a syllabus. Or my children, when they're in high school and they're in school, I'm saying, show me, where's the textbook? And they may not have a book. Everything's online. Everything.
No, I just took 2 courses with no textbook.
No tech. Right. I'm that's disappointing for me because of how I was, I don't know, raised, I guess, that I love. So there is that. There is the discouraging. So even teachers are not using books.
Yeah.
And so you find our children come out of school and they also don't write. And yet I think writing is valuable for us, in the movement, but they're not taught that. So
one of the lessons, that's definitely one of the lessons we should have learned through Ma'afa, that writing must be something we take on now. Definitely something we take on.
Okay.
The last question, Mama Marimba Ani, and as we go
Okay.
to it, I want to thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you, asante sana. Mama Marimba Ani, please speak on Freedom Summer because it is lauded by former SNCC members to this day. So you mentioned before you didn't agree with Freedom Summer. Say more. Tell us what was.
Oh,
Yes, tell us more. I will not put my
oh,
own words in it. Yes, please.
whatever the movement, I call it the Southern Student Movement, which gave birth to the Black Power movement, which gave birth to the Black Studies movement, which gave birth to the Black Student movement. Okay. So people need to understand that. Whatever. It was ours. No matter what critique you might have. So I don't call it the civil rights movement. So obviously it's very to be.
Is it hold on real quick. Is it just me to those of you in the audience? Is it pausing for you as well? Mama Marimba, hold on real quick. I don't think it's me. It's paused, right? Okay. Let's give it a minute. Oh, sorry. Give me a minute, everyone. All right, our people. I am so grateful. Mama Marimba Ani is going to be reconnected. And she will use, thankfully, I thank you, ancestors and our creator. Nothing is a coincidence. This moment to just relax and then we can close, right? We have asked a lot of her today. It is 3 hours. She doesn't even know that. Wait until I tell her how long we took here. Thank you all for joining us. I appreciate you all, like Noire said, and I thank him. Thank you, Noire, for reminding the people to subscribe, like, share. We cannot do this work without your support. I will tell you that. I don't build Kumbukeni by myself. It is the community that builds Kumbukeni. It is the community that shares. It is the community that inspires me to get up every time. It's a challenging task and do the work. So without your support, those things do not happen. Here we go. Let's see. All right. We put you back on. You're back on.
Yeah, I'm back. And so Asante Sana.
Asante sana, ndio.
And so you have to what I think people don't know, but which I learned, and coming out of New York, coming out of Harlem, this was new to me. But while we were actually in the movement in Mississippi, there were people that I knew and loved, good people, potential warrior soldiers who had difficulty, and I'm going to say this, it sounds extreme, but it's true, had difficulty looking a white person in the eyes. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? It's hard to imagine because you don't know that, and you're at such a different place. But they had been so conditioned, and that's the kind of place Mississippi was. So that us coming, we were really outsiders in one sense, but we come down as coming from the North. I'm coming from Harlem, where we confront everything, right, Damani? I mean, it's hard for you to really imagine that, but it was extremely important that we understand that we are saying to our people, we call them local people, we're saying, you can do this. They're telling you that, and it was real, that if you go down to the courthouse to say, I want to register to vote, you can be killed. Yep. You definitely can use your job if you have one. But you certainly can be jailed and beaten and lynched and so forth. Now, this was real. This is not exaggeration. Yeah. So that kind of fear we're dealing with, but also you have to understand the rules of the South. What they were was that if you were on the sidewalk and you walked and a white person came along, you were facing them, you got off the you stepped down into the gutter. And I know all of this sounds strange because it sounds so extreme, but you have to understand, we have to understand what that does mentally to a people's self-concept over, if you grow up like that. So that downtown was white man's territory. You're very careful about even going there. You had to have business being there. And the courthouse, going into the courthouse and saying, I want to register to vote, those for them is fighting words for the white people. You got to remember you're dealing with psychotics, but you're dealing with psychotics who had total control over an area. So the fact that you got our people like Medgar Evers and so forth to confront that and say, no, we're not going to let you do that anymore. It's one thing saying that in New York. It's another thing saying it in Mississippi and doing it and acting it out. And so the movement had done that and gotten people. We had people who were feeling like that they had this power. The premise of the so-called Freedom Summer was that if you it was one thing for Black people to be suffering in this way and to be treated this way. Murdered. But if you got the sons and daughters of quote unquote professional white people, sons and daughters of Congress people, students coming down and doing that, that the response of the law enforcement people and the rest of the country of white America would be very different. And so what Freedom Summer represented was the recruitment of hundreds of white students coming down. And you have to realize these are privileged people as far as we're concerned, right? To volunteer to work in the, to organize, to get, what we didn't talk about, and we'll have to do another time. If people don't know about the MFDP, what's the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, the chair of which the
Fannie Lou Hamer.
chairperson was Mrs. Hamer. Mrs. Hamer,
Yep.
we call her Mrs. Hamer, by the way. That's what I called her.
Mrs.
She
Hamer.
was a comrade of mine. I mean, we worked together. But the significance of MFDP but what it meant for her to do that, as opposed to outsiders, and that's what they call the white people call us outside agitators, to conceive of this whole thing, and then we're telling you this is what you should do, but you know what it is that you're going to have to deal with as a real result of doing it. So what that took and what that represented spiritually, emotionally, politically, consciously. And I watched Mrs. Hamer grow in consciousness because, by the way, I also had the privilege of going to Guinea with her in 1964.
Yes.
At the invitation of Sekou Touré, Nana Sekou Touré. So what that meant, then you're going to bring in and remember where they had come from. They had come from, and still some of them still were there, feeling about themselves that, oh, you got to be careful of white people. Don't challenge them. Don't look them in the eye. And I mean that literally. I know people will think I'm exaggerating, but it's true. And somebody who is from Mississippi or from somebody who knows it will be able to affirm what I'm saying. But to come from there to the point of actually signing up and becoming registered in MFDP, the Freedom Democratic Party. I was the organizer of registration, freedom registration, by the way. And then to have all of these come down, and by the way, they become, I think, Nduku, they have to be perceived as white saviors. You see what I'm saying? That's what that symbolically that's how they would take away the agency from my people.
Exactly.
And what I foresaw, what I really was opposed to, I'm so mad, was that when they tell the story of it after the fact, is that they would be given credit for what Black people did for themselves. So you would get all of these things saying, this was a great, freedom summer, and all these white people came down, they did this, and they did the freedom schools, and but our people were doing that in the movement before they came, and in fact laid the groundwork for it. And I didn't like that.
Yeah.
and I argued against it, and I was called a racist for arguing against it. And that's why I wanted us to really define, like, I don't talk about racism. I talk about
Thank you.
anti-racism.
Thank you.
Yeah, because
Thank
you
you.
can define that any way you want to, and it's too vague. Everything we do and the way we talk needs to be intentional. The words we use
Yes.
need to be intentional.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Within the context of world African sovereignty. So I was very against it. And I feel vindicated in that
Mm-hmm.
exactly what I was afraid of, I think, is happening.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they even have movies of it, a movie about it. Like it was the greatest thing that ever happened. Well, why was it the greatest thing that ever happened? Because the white people came?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that answers that question.
Yes, and Asante again. We're going to wrap up with me reading all these messages of appreciation,
Good.
messages of presence. And while I do that, you can take a deep breath and relax and just take it in. And then we can close with salams or whatever greetings or whatever we decide we are closing with. But I appreciate you so much. Do you know that we've been here 3 hours, 22 minutes and 8 seconds counting on?
It reminds me of Nana Amos. I mean, when Amos would give a talk, Amos could talk for 4 hours.
And you don't even know it.
And he was so serious, though. And he cared so much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He was never
Mm-hmm.
just talking to be talking.
Yeah.
And he was so brilliant. But anyway.
As we go to the comments, before I wanted to jump in and say, but didn't want to stop you from your thought regarding the question on what do we need for war. We most definitely, and since we are not thinking mechanically or objectifying ourselves or whatever, we need a great uncompromising love for our people, our way,
Absolutely.
and our continent, our motherland.
That's bottom
that is
line.
Necessary. That's what makes the difference. All right. Habari gani? Baba Imhotep is in the building. I saw your short. I know, right? I saw your short video talking about scientific Pan-Africanism. Great job. Asante sana, Baba Imhotep. I called Mama. I messaged her. I was like, this is a great article. I am going to invite you, Baba Imhotep, to come and speak on that, because I think this is, again, the phase we're moving into. It's not just Pan-Africanism, it is scientific Pan-Africanism. But even beyond that, we will talk about it when you come on. So please clear your calendar for me. I will reach out. Mwalimu Baruti, Jambo, someone Arising, the name is not mentioned. Mwalimu Baruti, I look forward to meeting you. Arising 5920 says, greetings. My book study group is currently reading Yurugu. So,
excellent. And
Arising.
Wait, I want to say to that I think that Dada Nduku is one of the people who understands it, and that you should let her help you in terms of guiding, because I will say this. I know it's, I don't want to, say it's just difficult and all that, but I do think it should be done collectively. And I do think guidance is good. And if there's anybody in the comments who actually studied with me at Hunter College, I did teach a course in which we, in which we studied the book Yurugu. And I did a course called Theories of White Racism, by the way.
Yes,
So
Bakra. I'll get to Bakra. I mentioned him to you. I'll get to him. So arising, I was going to say, and my elder has guided me there as well. Clearly, she's aligned with me. Reach out to me, and I will love to support that group, whichever way I can, and just see the fruits that are going to arise from the seeds you plant there. So yes, we need to work more collectively and more cooperatively.
yeah, yes.
Yes, the efforts must be consolidated. Um, Samori Ba, I need to put these up so that you can see them as well. I first read Yurugu in 1994 while in grad school. It made a huge impression on me and my peers and
Oh, he
classmates.
was wonderful.
Right? There were, oh, you know him. There was a before and after effect after even beginning the reader. There definitely is a before and after effect. And if there's no after effect, you did not comprehend the books. Go back and read it again. I'm going to say that without 10 toes down. Reach out to me if there's no after effect. Has it started? Yes. Just Jambo from Louisiana. That is Jamila Sekmet.
Okay.
Trappy, Zindis. I don't know if you'll recognize the names, Mama Marimba. Some of them you will. I am always reading Yurugu. It is a constant reference from vocabulary,
Wow.
understanding, asili, and I agree it needs to be. It is, again, answering the question of war. It has to be a tool, and because we identify the importance, we must make sure we preserve it and defend it. Absolutely.
Oh, I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
This one said, I have Abina, sorry for calling you this one, really, that culture of eating people. I have never read Yurugu, but I have done some research on the concepts, and the reading was suggested to me by Baba Kwaku or Kweku. Yes.
Which Baba Kweku?
Rich Baba Kweku, Abina. Let us know if you can. Another member of the community, I read the book 6 years ago. Great book. As we design political systems, I feel Yurugu creates a great template for foreign policy that a unified Africa can use to interpret its relations with Western nations. I agree. I have gone farther, and I will say, let me say this before I forget, because sometimes I do this. For anyone who is interested in continuing the work grounded in Africanness and seriously seeking African sovereignty, that is the goal. African sovereignty.
Right.
No compromise.
Right.
We're not going to the UN to ask for votes. We're not negotiating nothing with anyone. We are seeking African sovereignty. So reach out to me and we will do the connecting of everyone else that's involved. But reach out to me, Kumbukeni1@gmail.com. That's KUMBUKENI1@gmail.com. I'll put it up as I continue to talk for it to run through. But I spelt it because I know we have some people who listen on audio. And therefore, if you're on audio, you got that spelling. You cannot see my banner. But let me put the banner up so that... this is interesting. There's no banner for the email. That's interesting. .com. Scroll as we go, add banner, and let's activate it. Sure. And then I continue. Mama Marimba. Peace and blessings from everyone. Return of Ma'at Abibi Fahodi. Yurugu was one of the first books that started started my Sankofa journey during my undergrad experience. Saved me from academitis.
And I laughed. That's what I wanted.
I laughed when I saw that because I understood exactly what it is.
That's why I wrote it. Yeah.
Yes, that's why. Listen. Veronica Jarrett, greetings, African family. Omowale, Abibi Fahodi family. Abina, I have met Mama Marimba in Pram Pram and attended Abokisam Sansum. Veronica said something we said the other day. The chapter 6 section, rhetoric and behavior, definitely speaks to the time we are in now, more than ever. As the elders say, history repeats itself.
It speaks to that time, but it also, I'm going to tell you something else about the time that we're in right now. I feel that the present regime,
Mhm.
you know, or the Fourth Reich of U.S.
Mhm. Mhm.
is actually behaving in such a way and is doing things in such a way that our people should be able to see clearly without the mask. Yurugu.
Mhm.
That's what I think. I think um, Yurugu is showing itself.
And you said, oh my goodness, even they are starting to see the Yurugu in
I
themselves.
think that even they are starting to see it, and the danger. There's a we have to be careful
Thank you. I'm glad we brought
because,
this up.
and that's another thing that I'm working on,
I'm glad we brought this up. Yeah.
and that is those who see and don't. They're looking in the mirror, and they don't like what they see. Those quote unquote progressive ones, they are not equipped to do what has to be done to bring it down. They may not like it, you know, the Hedges and all of them people, but they ain't serious. They're not gonna. We cannot fall into the trap of following them again. So that particularly Wolf.
Yeah.
I don't know his first name, but I mean, it's like we've been there, done that. To go like the answer is communism. No,
Their Asili will
communism.
not allow them. Hmm.
Communism didn't do that, but I think I don't know. I think that our people could easily sense, you know, anybody who's anti-Trump it's got to be good. It's got to be the way to go. But let me tell you something. I wanted to tell you this, Nduku,
Hmm.
because when you were having your debate and all that, and I was like,
Oh.
why would you even bother? But you know what? I can tell you one sentence
Hmm.
that says the failure of Marxist analysis and theory.
Hmm.
Guess what? The Trump Musk regime represents and the people here who put them in and who follow them, which are all the people here in when I say here, I mean US, you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
the belly of the beast thing. Guess what they represent? And
Tell
guess
us.
what these times represent? They represent the dictatorship of the proletariat. Now,
Mm.
anybody who's really into
Yes. Yes.
Marxist theory will understand how devastating that is to say that.
You're right.
For in theory, that's I know. I love it. The pinnacle of what you're reaching for, what you want, is this is that this class, this working class people, they are going to, and it's how he defines the working class. You see, everything is defined in materialist terms. They are going to save the world because they will, in fact, they will represent the state that they build will be the non-state. It's no longer a state. There will no longer be classes. They will no longer be this. They will those. But the people that he talked, they put Trump and Musk and all of them in power,
The proletariats put him in power. You're right.
and they think so poorly. They are so not
One of them
bright.
called them degenerate.
They don't even realize that Trump and them are not acting in their interest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they are. It's racially, yeah. Their thing is, as long as we're still, white is right and all. That's enough for them.
Yeah.
But in terms of policy and and the way the different, I don't know what you would call it, laws and all that they're doing, they're not benefiting from that.
No. It's
They're not
interesting because
benefiting monetarily. They're not benefiting any kind of way you look.
I'm going to
Go
do a
ahead.
video on this. I'm going to do a video on what you just said to expound on it. But it's interesting because in preparation for this or something else earlier in the week, I was reading Project 2025. And when I encountered Africa, I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be reading this,
Yeah.
because it seems like they are doing something good for Africa, because they are by default. They didn't plan to, but they are.
Got to understand that.
Exactly. So I'll break those down in future videos. So continue
And
to
we
share
do
love.
have to become much more analytical, much more analytical.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and really, really think through with much. Anyway,
I said to Brother James once, and you love this. I said to him, Brother James, because I love you elders, because you provide me sessions for therapy all the time. Thank you so much.
Right.
I get to talk to you, and you comfort me. And I said to him, I feel like I'm critical of everything, Brother James, and my family hates it. People around me hate it, but I can't help myself. He says, that's what you need to be, critical of everything.
Everything. Because what it really is you have to understand that we're in Ma'afa, and you have to know what Ma'afa is. And it is an order. It is a way of ordering reality that is destructive of African life. And it is destruction.
Yes.
It is destruction.
Seto Wunokware, sending love. Jadorian Chimurenga, he's a former student of mine. I hope he returns to learn Kiswahili. He was doing well, so we'll get that taken care of. April Tremble, Hotep, Baba Olaitan, Hotep, Mama Marimba, good to see you. Blessings from Tallahassee. Ido Bale,
Wonderful.
for my mommy, teacher and great leader. Ashe Mwaye Basura says Ashe. D Brown, Hotep. Marie Fernanda Paramirez, saludos, Mama Marimba Ani. I'm hoping, and I see from the picture, our family in the South, the Americas, South, in Brazil, and them have joined us. Amor infinita. Yes. My goodness, I'm sorry.
We're gonna have to end, and
yes,
and the thing is, I'm so grateful.
I'll share the love later when we speak. I'll share with you all the love later when we speak.
Okay,
yes.
good.
Because we do need to rest.
And I thank you all for coming on. I also thank anybody who was my student at Hunter that helped me. But Damani and Ola Eshu have been so wonderful. But look at the patience. I mean, they've been sitting here through this whole thing. So I don't want to.
Yes.
I don't want to be abusive.
Yes. Oh yes, Asanteni, my brother. Go on, Mama.
And everybody needs to be studying an African language. Everybody, every African person. That should be an objective, to become fluent in an African language.
Yes.
I know I want to. So
yeah, say that again loudly so that Noire can hear you. I want him to hear that message. Say one more time. Everyone needs to learn an African language.
No,
Mama Marimba.
Every African person. If you are saying you're purporting to be African sovereignist, but if you really are, you will be studying an African language. You will be learning one. That will be an objective that you'll do that.
Asante sana, my brothers. Make sure that Mama Marimba rests. Mama Marimba, make sure you rest. We will talk at another time. Thank you. Kila laheri, baraka baraka. And I thank you all in the family. Thank you all in the chats, in the comments. Thank you all for supporting. Be well, everyone. Be well and be grounded in service to our people. The goal is African sovereignty. No compromise, no negotiations.
Absolutely. And
no
that means
signatures.
power, by the way.
Power.
Power. It is defined in terms of power. Total power.
Thank you. Thank you, Mama Marimba Ani. All right, kwaherini. Kila laheri. Asanteni.
Whew.